I'm just unloading my fish that I did a 5-day fishing trip on my own, and this is the results of it. I'm going to show you what goes on out there. Seeing that I'm on my own, I haven't got any action videos of actually catching the fish, but I'm just going to show you how I treat the fish and talk about the species. So, what's your name?
James.
James?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got James here going to help me unload these fish. As you can see, it's raining.
Beautiful looking fish.
Thanks, James. Right, how long have you...
Yeah, you had 4 or 5 days, and they all look like they were 4 yesterday.
Yeah, fantastic.
Beautiful.
Yeah, well that's the brain
Nice
spiking.
and clear eyes.
Yeah, it's the brain spiking and the slurry does that.
Like red gills as well.
Yeah.
Difference between a line cork,
Hey, yeah.
Tell the difference.
Oh, yeah.
No bruising anywhere.
I'm on the start of day 2 now. Got a beautiful show of fish here in 46 fathoms. Now what I want to show you here is the big show of fish above the bottom, but just here you can see my first fish coming to the surface. A beautiful big Traglan Jew. That is my first fish. I better not talk too long, I'll get back to it. Just a quick update. 2 pearl perch here. So they're the pearl perch are known as chicken of the sea. So there's very few fish that are equal to pearl perch as far as a table fish. Beautiful fish. I've had a couple of dolphins around the boat just recently. It's actually a beautiful day here on the ocean. I'm out of sight of land except for one little mountain top. It's called Mount Kuroi. So over to the west, and the camera won't pick that up. There's millions of acres of ocean out here, and there's just a lot of stuff floating around, and I'm just going to show you what it is. It's called pumice. Pumice is a naturally occurring phenomenon. There's a bit there on the camera. It just comes out of undersea little volcanoes, and this lighter than water. It comes to the surface and it just floats around the ocean, and where it ends up I don't know. There's a place not far from here called Pumice Stone Passage. With a couple of scoops with my net I managed to get a couple of little groups of it here. Now the pumice has got a lot of uses in the garden. Apparently I think you can grind it into a powder and use it in your garden, and you can use it as a foot rub to rub off any unwanted skin on your feet. That's Wilma. Hang on, back again. Now this pumice, as you can see here, it supports a lot of life. One chunk here, you can see it's got various forms of life on it. Little bits of anemone growing on it. There's all these barnacles, and there must be just tons and tons of it floating around out here. On the bottom of this bucket there's even a crab crawling around, so he could be hiding under one of those rocks. But this is another thing I found in amongst the pumice. Have a look at that. How much of this is floating around on the ocean? Where was this destined for? Was this destined for a beach somewhere, or was it going to form part of the world's largest garbage dump, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch? And what happened to the rest of the bottle? That's the disturbing thing, is how much of this plastic is floating around. I'm just going to show, when I get home, I'm going to show a few images of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, and even if I just encourage one person to look at the Great Pacific Garbage Patch and look at images and be aware of how much plastic is in the ocean and how much damage it's doing, I would have achieved something. I better get my line down again and try and get a couple more fish. So I just had a visit from Gary and Luke from the Brisbane Water Police. They're just checking out people to see everything's above board. They're going to say goodbye now. Right, see you later. Don't forget to check out this video. Okay, see you. Well, yeah, so they're a long way from home.
Right, so I had to come back in about 2.5 miles into a bit shallower water. The current got a bit strong out there where I was getting those pearlies. I've got a couple of parrotfish here. So these are Venus tuskfish. Also beautiful eating fish. So I'm only using 2 hooks on this light line. I'm using a Penn overhead reel with light line on it. And so I've got 2 of these parrot on the one drop. It's a sunspot wrasse. Beautiful eating fish. So I put them in with the parrot when I sell them, but beautiful looking fish. Yeah, this may be the last fish for the day for me. There's a nice knobby snapper. Not sure what he weighs, probably about 3.5 or 4 kilos. Got one like that half an hour ago, so I'll see if there's any more before I go to bed. It's the start of day 3. I've only been fishing for about an hour or so, but haven't caught a great deal. But I've got my first double header. I've got 2 of these sunspot wrasse. Beautiful fish. I was just about to make a move, and I just let my line out a bit further, and these 2 jumped on. I might as well explain what I'm looking for. What I have here is my GPS, and you can see there's a lot of marks on there, and they all mark bits of reef that I've caught fish on, and gives you a bit of an idea of of where you're fishing. Now, you use that in conjunction with your echo sounder. So you can see here, I went over a nice show of fish just here. They're up high, and the idea is to go forward of where you've got the show and throw your anchor down and try and anchor up so that you're fishing above the fish. So that by the time you anchor up, the fish are under the boat. So you can see here as the echo sounder progresses along, you can see a lot of fish on the bottom. That's what you're doing all day. Quite often conditions won't allow you to fish in certain spots because sometimes the current gets really strong, and that was what happened yesterday. All that pumice that went past my boat was at the start of a current line. So now that current line's gone through, we had a fair bit of current last night, and it's sort of dropped out a bit now, but the ocean's fairly clear now, just a few little bits of pumice. Now on the first day I had a beautiful show of fish under the boat, and I'll show you that directly. And just want to get this show on camera because it's a magnificent show. I'm in 46 fathoms. You don't get this sort of show very often. You can see all the individual fish in it and everything. So I've just anchored up, so I'll see how I go. I'm out on my own this trip. My first trip for the year. Yeah, just a massive show of fish, and I only got 1 fish out of it, so they weren't biting. So that explains that. I have 2 more beautiful eating fish. Here's a rosy jobfish. So I've got a double header of those. I have another species of fish to show you. Another nice eating fish. This is called a hussa. Nowhere near as nice as the pearl perch or the snapper, but still a nice eating fish. Hussa. Right, I might as well explain the anchor. So what I've done is I've just pulled the anchor up. You see the rope going around, and it's floating on the surface, and it's going around to that red buoy. I think you can see the red buoy there. Now the red buoy supports the weight of the anchor and the chain. So I've got it all set up so that I don't have to pull the anchor up by hand. So all I've got to do is just motor back towards that float, and then just pull the rope in off the surface, and then the heavy lifting is when I have to lift the anchor itself over. I might as well explain my anchor now. So here's my anchor. It's solid steel. I make them myself, and you have at the end of the anchor where you tie your trip. You have a trip rope. You have your chain there and a trip, and my chain is completely welded to the anchor, and my chain made up of 3 different thicknesses. So I start off with a thicker chain at the bottom, and then work my way up to the thinner chain higher up. And I don't have any shackles, no shackles whatsoever. So even where I tie the rope to the chain, I weld a big half a chain link to my chain and then tie my rope to that. Yeah, this is the float. You can see my float there. It took me years to develop this, to get the distance right and everything. Now even the diameter of the material on this ring is important to have a large diameter, and then that way the chain will come over it quite easy. You've got a soft anchor float, because if you have a hard one it'll bang on the front of the boat when you're trying to sleep. It's been a bit windy today. It's been around 15 or 18 knots most of the day, northwest, and the current where I was yesterday got pretty strong, so I moved about 5 miles south to try and get out of it, and the current's still pretty strong here. So I've got 2 fish on my line here. Well, the fishing's been pretty quiet really. I want to show you these 2 fish. Now one of them's a juvenile knobby snapper, or a pink snapper. Some people would call that a porgy, but it's not. It's a snapper porgy. And there's another fish here that some of them might call a porgy as well. It's a coral brint. So they're not the most wonderful eating fish, although they're lovely white flesh. So they don't bring as much money as the snapper or the pearl perch. Yeah. Now the other thing I'm going to mention is, as soon as I catch the fish, they all get brain spiked. So there's a husser there that was pulled out of the ice box, and there's a spot here where you brain spike them, right? So every fish, regardless of the quality, gets brain spiked. As soon as they're brain spiked, they go straight into this icy slurry, and then that chills them down straight away. You can see the fish in there with all the ice and the water around them. Now at the end of the day, I put them in the big ice box, so I pull out some ice and stack them the way they swim, and put the big ones on the bottom and the small ones on the top, and then put a layer of ice between each layer of fish. So that's the way it happens, and that's about the best thing you can do for your fish. Well, the sun's just coming up on day 5. The ocean's a lot better than what it was yesterday. The forecast has been amended. It's only 10 knots today, just right, and variable winds. And I got my first 2 fish. Got this double header of beautiful pearl perch. See if I can get some more. I'm just unloading my catch, so I'm just showing you how they packed in the box, the way they swim. So you can see here, we've got the husser here. So just remove some of the ice away on this side, and you can see on this other side there's how they're packed.
They usually unload you, just carry the baskets up there?
Yeah, I'll give you a hand with those. There's my fish ready to unload, and there's my snapper, parrot here. With, you can see how the brain spiking and the slurry, the fish keep all their colour. There's my pearl perch, mixed fish, there's a couple of other fish here, more parrot. Thanks for watching, catch you later, bye.